Okay, this is Jim Sinesco for AFC International. This is a little like a safety tip and something that's been kind of we've known about for quite a while, but I'm not sure everybody understands it. And we get instruments sent into us saying that they're not working, and then we get them, and miraculously they're working just fine. That just happened this morning. My technician brought over an instrument to me, this one right here, and he said, "Hey, it's not working." And so I grabbed my Cal gas, tried it, and everything was fine. He couldn't believe it. He came over and said, "What are you talking about? I did everything you did." And then we looked at each other, and I said, "Well, what regulator and gas were you using?" And he showed me the regulator that he was using, and it wasn't working. And it's this one here. It's nothing wrong. It's an Air Liquide gas demand flow, real common, model 2001. And mine was a Norlab demand flow. And again, it's not an indictment on either of the makes or manufacturers. What we're finding here is that just because you have a demand flow regulator doesn't mean they last forever. They are expensive. They're $300, $200-$300. Just because you pay big money doesn't mean they can't fail. And when we're looking at failures or instrument problems, we have to look at all the components we use to test and calibrate and check those units, along with the instrument itself. Now, the unit we're talking about that we found this phenomena today was a Key-Ray 3. Now, the Key-Ray 3 has an internal pump. Now, Jim, why don't you go ahead and grab that flow meter over there. So whenever you have an internal pump, you want to make sure you check that flow, right? Because obviously, if the flow's no good, then you're not going to have run. So right around 0.4, which is the nominal flow rate for a Key-Ray 3 from Ray Systems Honeywell. So that should be a problem. So that's good, Jim. All right, so Jim's just going to go ahead and, now the unit is in normal operation. Now this Key-Ray 3 is asking for calibration because we have it set up to do that. So whenever you have the date is past the cal, you're going to get this kind of a screen to say, "Hey, look, you got to calibrate." But you go ahead, Jim. Jim's going to go ahead and hook up the bad regulator to it, demand flow. Now let me explain about a demand flow. We're using the pump suction of the instrument to open up the valve and let the gas flow out. There's no knob on that, so I just wanted to point that out. So if you look here on the screen, we've been hooked up now for 15 seconds, 20 seconds, no response. Now, of course, we checked that flow, and the flow was good, so we should be getting a response. So now go ahead, Jim, disconnect, and we'll go ahead and we'll connect the other demand flow regulator. Just have to be the Norlab, same kind of gas, and we switched cylinders around, so it's not the gas. Go ahead, Jim. This is the kind of response you should get when you've got a good demand flow. You can see immediately we're getting sensor responses, and we're getting the sensors giving us the proper amounts. So what was perceived as a bad unit that wasn't working is actually working almost perfectly to spec. You can almost see it's coming right up on those numbers where they should be. And so again, a quick tip today, check your demand flows. If your pump and everything else is working, maybe you need a pump flow meter. We sell those here at AFC. We can get those in your hand. It's really important to have those. But just because the instrument doesn't calibrate or you think it's not working, it could be other things that could be affecting it. We never would have thought that'd be a demand flow, but I found many like this and many in very critical applications too. So check your demand flows, make sure they're doing the right job, and then give us a call if you have any questions, 800-952-3293. Thanks.